It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Monday, December 1st. We have our Christmas decorations. We're getting in the mood for the season. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We got a big show for you tonight. Big featured story. We're going to be talking tonight all about President Trump's big post on Thanksgiving. Kind of like a festive tweet. Kind of like a festive seasonal Thanksgiving post. I'm sure you must have saw it. On Thanksgiving, President Trump posted some holiday greetings and specifically said, and, we'll talk about what it means. He said he wants a total and permanent pause on all third world migration into the United States, basically calling for an immigration moratorium. Not only that, he said that we need to remigrate or reverse immigrate potentially millions of people. And we'll go through the post. It feels already like it's super old. I don't know about you guys, but I saw the post. I think it came out on Thanksgiving Day. And now it's Monday, so I guess that was 4 or 5 days ago. To me, it already feels like old news, but we never got a chance to talk about it. I wasn't here Thursday and Friday. But tonight we'll talk about the post. And honestly, I saw it. And at first, somebody sent it to me in a group chat. And for the first time in a long time, Trump put it on Twitter as well. It was on Truth Social, but it was also on Twitter. And somebody sent it to me and said, oh, it's another great Trump post. And I thought they were being sarcastic. And I pulled it up. And it was another one of these effort posts that is like 500 paragraphs. And it's another one of these holiday posts where he says, happy Thanksgiving to the haters and losers. And so at first I thought this is just more Trump slop. More Trump slop, another 3-paragraph effort post, the same stale joke from Truth Social, more of the same. And then I read it bar for bar. I read the entire thing. And I was pleasantly surprised by the content. I said, this is not actually sarcastic at all. This is a great post. Remigration, pausing third world migration permanently, calling Tim Walz a retard. It had everything. It had everything that we've been wanting to hear for a long time. But, and this might be the theme of the show tonight, here's the thing about this kind of post and these kinds of statements, rhetoric. This is why people keep falling for it over and over again. This is why we're here in 2025 and the administration's a complete disaster. You look at the latest approval numbers, favorability ratings, it just keeps going lower. The Republicans might even lose their majority in the House before the midterm elections because so many people are resigning. And we have to pay close attention, especially between now and Christmas. This is when people resign. All that being said, people keep falling for it over and over again because they refuse to learn the lesson of history, which is that this is the classic Trump playbook. And I've been doing this show for almost 10 years now. I started the show after Trump's inauguration in 2017. And I've been doing the show ever since. I saw his entire first term. I was here throughout Biden's term. Now we're here in the second term. And it is always the same playbook. And it's very simple. Trump will get himself in trouble. He's unpopular. He makes some faux pas, especially when he's president. He's not delivering on policy. People are unhappy. Or it's an election. And this is when he will go to a rally or he will go on Twitter and he will say the most racist shit you've ever heard. He'll talk about whole countries. He'll say he's moving the National Guard to the border. He'll describe himself as a nationalist and say we should say that more. This is the playbook. He's unpopular. People are not happy with the way things are going. He'll go to the rally, go to Twitter, and then he will shamelessly pander to our basest instincts. And by base, I don't mean based. I mean base, like our lowest impulses, our anger, our frustration, xenophobia, nominally. And he will say something to pander, to satisfy, to please on that front. It happens over and over again. Now, we'll see what comes of this. Of course, if this became policy, I would support that. I'm in favor of that. As a matter of fact, I didn't vote for Trump because he didn't promise this last year. If you recall, during the 2024 election, he said we would actually staple green cards to diplomas and we would have tons of legal immigrants coming here. He said that the mass deportations would focus only on the criminal illegals. I said I wouldn't vote because he was not promising this at all. And actually, he was promising the opposite. So if this statement, if this rhetoric is policy, if that's the new policy, because that's not the promise from the campaign, that hasn't been the policy up to this point, if this represents a shift and they're embracing and adopting new policy, which they intend to enforce, obviously I'm in favor of that. I would be pleased if that happened. But I don't think there is any indication that that is the case. I'm not optimistic that that is what this is, that anything will result from it. And until we see anything real and tangible, then I don't think anybody should be getting excited. To this statement and to this rhetoric, I say, will it be different this time? Because if the answer is no, then there's no use in getting excited. This is just, it's actually frustrating to watch. Because just when people start to get frustrated, just when people start maybe to get frustrated enough to organize and mobilize, that's when Trump always comes in and deflates that emotion with the pressure release valve. And so this has happened many times over the past 10 years. People get together and say, hey man, the wall still hasn't been built. Where are the mass deportations? Why are we still in Iraq? Why are we still in Syria? Why are we bombing Syria, bombing Iran? Where's it? It has happened many times over the past 10 years. And just when you think people have had enough and maybe they're going to split from the GOP, from the Trump movement, maybe they're going to mobilize for something independent, Trump will always come in before the election in response to the outrage with a post like this, and people say, oh, we're so back. We should have never doubted. And it's just not enough. The words are not enough. We need the policy. We need the follow through. That's always been the problem. So we'll talk about the statement and some of the pledged policy changes. There's been some already, and we'll get into that specifically as it pertains to asylum requests. We're also going to talk tonight about our potentially imminent war in Venezuela. And this has been slowly building for months now. The United States has now deployed roughly a third of the Navy into the Caribbean, into the U.S. Southern Command Theater. And we've got a number of naval vessels, over 10,000 soldiers. Aircraft carriers made a port call in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And the Trump administration has set its sights on Caracas, on Venezuela. There's been a number of developments. Among them are, one, Trump has declared a no-fly zone over Venezuela. He said last week that Venezuela's airspace is closed. I doubt that he will be enforcing that, but the purpose is to apply pressure on Venezuela economically and strategically. There's a U.S. threat that if there will be a war or if America will be shooting down airplanes over Venezuela, potentially all commercial flight will grind to a halt, and that'll put a lot of pressure on the country. That's one. Two, the other development is that there seems to be a report that Trump and Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, have had a phone call, which is notable because the question, and this has been looming for the past several months, really since the beginning of the year, is what exactly is the end game here? Why is there a military buildup? We all know what it suggests, which is imminent kinetic action, imminent hostile regime change with a military intervention. But of course, the suggestion of military intervention could point in another direction, which is that this is a continuation of maximum pressure. And maybe there's not actually a plan for a real regime change war or an imminent intervention. But the goal is to threaten this to achieve a settlement with the Venezuelan regime, where over time, Maduro will step down or realign the country towards Washington and away from China, Russia, and Iran. And so the question with this type of gunboat diplomacy, this kind of Nixonian strategy, madman doctrine, which we've seen in North Korea, Iran, elsewhere, are we actually going to see a war, or is this just high-stakes brinksmanship? Well, if Trump has had a phone call with Maduro, it suggests that potentially Trump is open to a settlement, which has Maduro stepping down on some timeline negotiated with the United States under certain conditions, and that there still might not be a war. There might not be a direct military intervention. But the rumor is that that phone call didn't go so well, and that Maduro and Washington have a lot of disagreements about what that might look like. So we'll talk about these two big developments. We'll talk about the whole situation. And really, the big takeaway here, the real lead, we've been talking about this for a few months now. I believe it was back in August. It was reported that there is a major difference of opinion inside the administration. And it seems that just like with Iran, there is this bifurcation. And on the one side, you have Trump. And in this case, in the Venezuela portfolio, you have Rick Grenell, the special envoy. And what they favor is a negotiation where Maduro stays on under some timeline and Caracas, under new leadership, realigns with Washington. And so they give us their oil, they give us their gold, they give us access to all future mineral discoveries, future energy, and other resources. And also, strategically, they become aligned with the United States and no longer with China, Russia, Iran. That is the diplomacy wing. On the other side, you have Marco Rubio, who is now the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor. Marco Rubio is Cuban. His parents are Cuban. He's from southern Florida. And Rubio, if you recall, his whole story is about how his family fled from communism. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they actually fled from the previous regime, which was a U.S.-backed dictatorship. And so that's sort of funny in a way. But Rubio, because he's a Cuban, because he's a Republican, his real end game is he wants to destroy Cuba. And Venezuela is the number one strategic ally of Cuba. So Rubio, as the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor, his long-term objective, this is his agenda, and again, as a very powerful figure who has now absorbed the National Security Council, he wants to overthrow Maduro with the military by any cost. He wants to topple that dictatorship, no deal, no diplomacy, no negotiation, no settlement. He wants America to go in heavy, topple the government. And then, like domino theory, he wants Cuba and Nicaragua to fall after that. And he can take the credit and then maybe run for president. And so these are the two options here. It's either we're going to do a regime change war. We have the CIA already active inside Venezuela. It's going to be targeted airstrikes, maybe special forces, and we remove Maduro by force, install some U.S.-backed puppet, or there's some kind of a deal. That has been the real question. And we'll talk all about that tonight. We'll get into the details on that. Should be a pretty good show. Before we get into the news, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know you think about the show. Check out our merch website, Fuentes.store. We have our brand new Wang Half hoodie for sale. People have been asking for it forever. So we had the Wang Half t-shirt for the summer. Now we have the Wang Half hoodie for the winter. And those are print on demand, so you're going to get them right away. You should get them, I think, in time for Christmas, but I'm not 100% sure. We are planning on doing a Black Friday drop, but we didn't finish, which is great. But we have some new hats, new shirts, new everything. It's on the way. We're just waiting on our creative team to finish it up anytime, guys. And we also had some issues with our credit card processor. You know, the thing is, when you're doing high-risk processing, you get these very low limits. And this is just how it is. I told you last week we finally got credit card processing for our merch store. Before that, we relied exclusively on cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. You want to buy a hat, you want to buy a shirt, you need to buy it with Bitcoin, which is so ridiculous. It makes you want to scream and smash your head through a wall. But we finally got credit card processing through a high-risk processor. It's like if you sell drugs, if you sell pornography, and if you want to be racist on the internet, you have to have these very high fees, very strict rules, like all kinds of things. Just to process a payment, we got it. We have a very low monthly limit of how many transactions we could take. So we're having to kind of space out how much volume we do on the store. So it's always a little bit more complicated. When you're fighting these people, they always make it a little bit complicated to operate a business. But Fuentes.store, check it out. Wang Half shirt, hoodie. We have the America First hats, flags. We have a Wang Half flag now as well. Pins, all that kind of stuff. Remember to subscribe for the Plus membership at AmericaFirst.plus. It's $15 a month to get access to the archive. $100 a month to get access to a group chat with me. And I'm in there hanging out with you guys. I was hanging out in the group chat all weekend, and I left about 30 minutes worth of voice messages today, doing a little preview for the show tonight. That's at AmericaFirst.plus. And with that, we're going to dive in. It's good to be back with you. I feel like it's been a long time since I've done a show. I wasn't here for Thanksgiving, took Friday off as well. Then it was the weekend. But I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I had a pretty interesting Thanksgiving. You might have heard about it. I don't know how much I'm going to get into it. I didn't even think I'd talk about it, but Sneeko went on his stream and told the whole story. You know, he told the whole story. He recorded me hanging out with him in the elevator and what we were doing and where we're going and everything, which is kind of funny. But so I had sort of an interesting Thanksgiving. And then we got hit with this brutal snowstorm in Chicago. This is going to be like the worst winter we've had in 10 years. We got like a foot of snow. It's 0 degrees. But I kind of like it. Honestly, it's kind of nice. I've been waiting for the winter. The winter, I think, makes me a little bit stronger. I can't do the summer. If you watch the show throughout the summer, I was in my generational run, but it was too hot. Too hot, too humid. I was melting in the studio every day. And the winter, it's a little bit more in my element. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. Before we get into the news, I wanted to talk about one other thing, which I've not been able to talk about too much, but which I did. Oh, also, one other thing I totally forgot. Real quick. Schedule for the week. I can't believe I almost forgot. We have a big schedule this week. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on InfoWars again at 1 o'clock Central with Alex Jones. We're going to talk about recent developments. It's been a minute since my last conversation with him, so it should be pretty good. That'll be tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central Time. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be live. I don't know if it's live, actually. It might be pre-recorded. But I'm going to be doing Steven Crowder's show, Louder with Crowder, on Thursday. And I don't know what to expect. Of course, me and Steven Crowder, we've known about each other for years. I think he probably became aware of me during the Groyper War back in 2019, but we've never talked. Not privately, not publicly. I've never done his show. And I believe I was actually banned from doing his show. His producer got caught on a hot mic, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. And they said, we want to have on everybody except for Nick Fuentes. He's too far. He's too far right. So I think I was actually banned from his show. But now, finally, I'm going to be encountering him for the first time. I'm going to be on the show Thursday. I think it's going to be friendly. I hope it is. I'm going to go in with no expectations. I'll be ready if it isn't. But I'm going to go in polite and friendly. And we're going to be talking all about everything that's been happening over the past month, the whole Tucker Carlson situation. We're going to talk about my views. And it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting clash. Because like I said, never talked to him before. So nobody knows what to expect. We're in for a treat. So that'll be Thursday. And then next Monday, I will be on Piers Morgan Uncensored. And we're going to be doing a long show. It's going to be like 2 hours on Monday. 2 hours with Piers Morgan. That one is definitely going to be not friendly. I mean, I'm expecting it'll be hostile. I had a lot of people texting me when Piers Morgan announced it. He tweeted at me, I think it was on Friday or Thursday. He said, we're going to invite you on the show. We've talked about you enough. Now we want to bring you on and hear you in your own words. And I had all these people reaching out and saying, oh, if you go on Piers, be careful. He's going to ambush you. He's going to be a tough interview. So we'll see. That'll be on Monday, and it'll be a marathon. This is going to be a full 10-round fight. This is going to be a full-on battle royale, WrestleMania. I think it might be an ambush. It might be hostile. And it might not be. Maybe it'll be fair. But that'll be on Monday. So we have a pretty packed lineup. We have another Bradley Martin collaboration, I think, dropping this week as well. So Alex Jones Tuesday, Steven Crowder Thursday, Bradley Martin at some point this week, Piers Morgan on Monday. And we have other stuff planned as well, but that is what's on the schedule for the next couple weeks. It's going to be very busy. Okay, with that out of the way. So those are all our announcements. Very exciting stuff. Closing out the year very strong. Closing out 2025, the year of the generational run, very strong. But before we get into our news for the night, I do want to get into this other story. And I hope I don't spend too much time on this. I always say that, and then I always do, because I tend to ramble. I'm ranting a little bit. But I did want to address this. I saw this over the weekend, and I can't help but wonder if my interview with Piers Morgan came about because of this. As you know, for years, I was banned on Piers Morgan. Like, I was officially banned. He said on his show that he would not invite me on as a guest. And I don't know when that was. It must have been in 2023 or 2024. But he actually explicitly said, even though his show is called Uncensored, and look, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that's what happened. For years, I was banned. He wouldn't invite me on as a matter of policy. He said at some point, we would never have him on, he's too extreme. And then all of a sudden, apparently that changed this weekend. For the past several weeks, he signaled that he was becoming more open to it. After the Tucker Carlson interview, he said he was reconsidering and maybe he might change his mind and maybe he would invite me on. And then all of a sudden that changed after Tucker Carlson did an interview with Piers Morgan this weekend. It was right after that Piers Morgan put up this video on Twitter and said, you know what, we're going to have him on. So I thought the timing was a little bit interesting. And I wanted to talk specifically about Piers Morgan's interview with Tucker because there was a very interesting clip that went viral. And I posted part of it on my Twitter over the weekend. And I'm sure you saw it. Tucker is pressing Piers Morgan to say faggot and retard. So I don't know who was interviewing who, strictly speaking. I think it was technically on Piers Morgan's show, but Tucker Carlson was a guest, and they talked about a bunch of different things. They talked about Hitler, and they talked about the interview, and they talked about a lot of different things. And Tucker is pressing Piers Morgan, saying, you should say faggot and retard. And in principle, Tucker is saying this because in the United Kingdom, this is illegal. It's considered hate speech. And Tucker gave the example of a woman who was attacked by a man. She was violently assaulted. She called the guy a faggot, and she got arrested. So she was a victim of assault or battery. She then used a slur against her attacker, she got punished. She got put in prison. Her attacker is at large. They don't have him. And Tucker said, isn't that ridiculous? You don't live in a free country. You can't say these words. You can't say faggot or retard. And Piers Morgan refused to say it. He said, that's offensive. I'm not going to say that because it offends people. And Tucker, in a very humorous way, he's going viral. He says, faggot, faggot, faggot. He says, we love gay people, but we're going to say faggot. Go ahead. He says, and we love retards. Like, we don't want to abort disabled people like the left, but we're going to say retard. And I saw the clip, and I thought it was pretty funny, actually. It's a little bit funny. But then it sort of dawned on me what Tucker was actually doing there. Because you have to consider that Tucker, he's been in media for 25 years. And you have to consider that if you're seeing a clip of Tucker saying faggot, you're seeing it because this is being recorded in front of a camera for a show. And Tucker is acutely aware that he is being recorded by a camera on a show. And so the only reason he would say the word faggot and retard on a stream, which he has never said before in 25 years on television, in 25 years in the media, he's never said these words. All of a sudden, he's taking a principled stand, not in 2015, not in 2017, not 2020, not in the peak or the height of wokeness and censorship, but in November 2025, for the first time in his career as a 56-year-old man, he says, faggot and retard. Now, why did he say that? Is it because he talks like this in real life? I don't think so. Why did he say this? Is it to make a point? Possibly. I feel like the time to use those words and make that point would have been 5 years ago. Now I think it's a little passé. Now I think it's a little bit trite. 2025, Twitter has basically become 4chan. Now you want to say retard and you think you're edgelording. Hitler AI translated speeches are going viral on Instagram. You think you're edgelording because you said retard and faggot in the big 2025. So what's really going on here? Well, it's obvious. He's clip farming. Tucker has discovered clip farming. At the ripe age of 56, Tucker Carlson has discovered that if you say faggot and retard, people are going to clip it and post it on Instagram, and everybody is going to laugh and laugh. That guy just said a slur. That guy just said a naughty word. Now, why do you think he said it now, as opposed to 2 months ago or 6 months ago or 3 years ago, when maybe it actually would have meant something? To say those words on Fox News at the peak of wokeness, at the peak of censorship, when people were actually being banned, maybe that would have been brave. Maybe that would have been a principled stand. To say it now? Well, I don't think that we can look at this outside the context of our interview. My interview with Tucker about a month ago. And what has happened since the interview is it seems that Tucker is trying to position himself, flanking me in a certain sense on my cultural right. Because the way that Tucker has talked about me ever since the interview is like I am the symptom of a disease. They're trying to diagnose the cause of my popularity like it's a problem, like it is this horrible sickness. He says, why is it that the kids like Nick? Is it the economy? Is it his sense of humor? Is it the clips? Is it because of anti-white media? Why, oh why, is this horrible person, why is this weird troll in his basement in Chicago, why do people like this guy with his evil anti-Semitic worldview? And I think what you've seen since the interview is sort of like the JD Vance hive mind effort to reverse engineer my popularity. And so what does he do? He brings on Nalin Haley. He brings on Nalin Haley to explain why I'm popular. Here's a Gen Z guy. He's a based economic populist. And even though he's Indian, he's against mass migration. Isn't that cool? And then Tucker goes on Piers Morgan and clip farms hey, kids, if you like Nick Fuentes saying, can a nigga breathe, you're going to really love Tucker Carlson saying, it's like the most shameless ripoff I've ever seen. Shameless clip farming Tucker. How far he has fallen. He was at Fox News. A few years ago, he was on Fox News at a major cable network. Now he's on Piers Morgan clip farming for Zoomers on Instagram saying, am I based now? Do the kids think I'm based? Bro, aren't you like 57? You've never said in your life. At least not on television or radio or anywhere. Now in 2025, after free speech won and comedy was legalized and Elon bought Twitter and turned it into 4chan, and the president said it, the president of the United States said retard on Twitter, now he wants to clip farm and say that. And here was the best part, because this was my first thought. Stop me if it was the same for you. When Tucker was pressing Piers to say and my first thought was, why don't we just say nigger while we're at it? Why don't we say that? But just as quickly as I thought that, Piers Morgan said it. Piers said, well, what about the N-word? And Tucker said, oh, I never say the N-word. It's an ugly word. It's like, dude, come on. So in 2025, we're going to say retard and faggot. By the way, did that ever become controversial? I don't think anybody really ever stopped saying retard and faggot. Certainly not retard, maybe not faggot. But in 2025, dude, again, you have people in blackface all over Instagram. You've got Gypsy Crusader throwing up Roman salutes and calling Cuffham and in 2025, you think it's edgy to say retard and fag because of free speech in the United Kingdom? But we would never say the N-word. Oh, really? Why not? And why not? Why can't we say the N-word? Honestly, saying the N-word is actually brave because that's actually canceled. It's definitely illegal in the UK. It's practically illegal in the United States. In effect, in practice, it is illegal to say the N-word in the United States. Because if you say it, you will get expelled from your school. Many people have experienced this. You will get recorded on Snapchat, posted on somebody's story, and some black kid screen records it and sends it to the principal, and you get expelled. You say it 10 years ago, 15 years ago on Twitter, you get kicked out of the MLB. You lose your job. In some cases, like in Minnesota, you get charged with disorderly conduct, like that woman whose name I forget, but who was really popular a few months ago that raised $250,000. In the United States, that's practically illegal. And he goes, oh, but that's an ugly word. I would never say that. Oh, okay. So what is this really about then? What are we really doing here, Mr. Carlson? If I can call you that. Mr. Carlson, I know I'm a young man and everything from Chicago, but Mr. Carlson, what are we actually doing here? The N-word is so ugly. Oh, that's hateful and horrible. What are we doing here? It's not about free speech. It's not about hate speech laws. It's not about comedy. It's 2025. You are clip farming. You are shamelessly clip farming. And there's something actually sinister. It's not actually harmless, because you might say, well, so what? He's getting in on it like everybody is, like women propaganda, that guy on Instagram, like Gypsy Crusader, like me, like whoever. We all do it. We're all clip farming. And we're all edgelording, so much so that edgelording has become passé. Like I said, it's sort of become corny now. Edgelording has become cringe. It's not even edgy anymore. There's no edge. So you might say, well, what's the problem? Tucker's getting in on it like everybody else. Here's what's actually sinister about it. to me, this shows, as I said, there is a coordinated, deeply intentional effort to subvert this movement by mimicking it. This is the mimic. This is the mockingbird. And this is what the CIA does. A mockingbird. What does a mockingbird do? It replicates and aggressively mimics the call of the other birds. This is what they do. They're mimicking the show. Let's bring on Nalin Haley. I got kicked out of Con Inc. because I talked about populism and payday loans. Really? I'm Indian, and even though I'm Indian, I'm in favor of legacy Americans and shutting down the visas. Mimicry. And then the New York Post, controlled by Rupert Murdoch, says he's the leader of Gen Z. Oh, that's new. And then a week later, we get Tucker on Piers saying, ha ha ha, shamelessly clip farming for the gram, shamelessly clip farming for TikTok. And it would be maybe you could call that playful. Maybe you could say that's funny if it were not for the fact that they are doing this because they want to subvert my credibility, my leadership, my momentum for one purpose, which is to support their guy in 2028, JD Vance. That's it. It's this simple. There is this cabal that wants to get JD Vance elected at any cost in 2028. They want him to be the nominee. They don't want it to be a competition. And then they want him to be the president. And they want to do that so that he can give all the contracts to Peter Thiel's companies so that he can empower little tech in Silicon Valley. He's going to be their Manchurian candidate. And this cabal, they're all in on it. It's Thiel, it's Tucker, it's Hazoni, Vance, of course. This little circle, they will do anything to get him elected. And they have identified as of a few months ago that I'm going to be a big problem for Vance because I'm super popular and I'm really viral and I have an army that will do what I say. And if in 2027 I tell the Groyper army to go to the Iowa caucus or New Hampshire or South Carolina, and if I'm aggressively in opposition to JD Vance, if somebody else is running that has a chance, I might throw a wrench into this decades-long campaign to get this guy in the Oval Office. They're getting started early. They're getting started early in 2025, making a play for 26 and 27 to basically absorb my credibility and my audience and say, well, we have an offering. We, the Thiel cabal, have an offering for the youth that is similar to Fuentes. It's not politically correct. It's Israel critical. It's nationalist. It is something approaching pro-white. It's maybe anti-white. And we're gonna clip farm and say it. And we're gonna offer up some young people, and it's not explicitly racial. And we're gonna reassure the good Jews and Israel on some level that we're still gonna be allied. But we're going to provide an offering that is similar enough that mimics Fuentes that people are going to glom onto it and like it as a pro-Vance alternative. That's the goal here. And it could not be more. It's so obvious now. I've been saying this for the past couple weeks, but it is now so obvious. Tucker bringing me on was not a way to support me. That wasn't trying to do me a favor, contrary to what people think. And it's important that people know that. He was not doing me a favor. This was a keep your enemies closer type movement, which was to bring me in to neutralize me, that I might be enamored or that I might be grateful or something and say, oh, thank you so much, while they shove the knife in my back and play these games like they've been playing for the past few weeks. Tucker does not mention the interview anymore without saying that I'm an anti-Semite in the same breath, and that's not right. And then turning around and promoting this other guy and saying, you can explain why he's popular, you're unproblematic. And then now the clip farming? Come on now. And here's why they're never going to win at this. It's because at the end of the day, what they're doing is not authentic. And so it looks like America First, it smells like America First, it tastes like America First, but it doesn't feel like America First. because it's not, and it's fake. And things like this are the perfect example. When Tucker gets up there and says, retard, but I would never say the N-word. It's ugly and hateful. That's when you know. That's when you know that I can't believe it's not butter. I can't believe you're not a real nigga. I can't believe it's not a real ass nigga going hard as fuck. That's fake. Obviously. It's in the same way how for the past year, they were going around telling people, you're brown, you're going back, you're a third worldist, you have 100 days until Trump deports your brown ass. Wait, you're making fun of Usha Vance? Not cool, dude. You called her a jeet? I won't even repeat that. It's so awful. Like, that's how you know it's not real, okay? You're not a white ass nigga going hard as fuck. If it's not the N-word, I don't want it. If it's got an Indian wife, I don't want it. If he's a fat piece of shit, I don't want it. I've been saying this. This is the battle. Now, let's go a little bit further. Here's why we need to make it contentious. It needs to be a battle, and I'm going to tell you why. Because what these people do, and by these people, I don't even mean Jews. I mean the CIA. I mean these operatives, whatever the fuck they are. I don't know what Tucker is, honest to God. Like, if you told me that Tucker Carlson goes back to his cabin in Maine and like takes off a rubber mask and he's an alien underneath, I would believe you because I don't know what he is. I couldn't tell you if he's a Russian, if he's a CIA operative. Honestly, if he's a lizard from outer space, I don't know what he is, but he's not who he says he is. He's not real. He gives me uncanny valley vibes. There's something off there. There's something not quite right. There's something that isn't honest. You're not actually getting forthrightness. You're getting a simulation of it. You're getting a very calculated, very, very choreographed, very rehearsed, very intentional replication of the guy that fishes and has a cabin full of knickknacks and just likes nicotine and wears his flip-flops to the Putin interview. You're getting a simulation. I don't know what he is. And what these people do, these operatives that are not like Americans, that are not like us down here in Chicago, okay, or wherever, what they do is they skin suit. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and they did it to Trump. They did it to Trump. None of these people even liked Trump. Look at what Tucker said about him. Tucker said that Trump is a demonic force. He said he hates him, and he can't wait to never have to cover him again. For the 4 years preceding that statement, all he did was pretend to be the intellectual foundation of Trumpism as a national populist or whatever. They skin suit. They emulate. They mimic. They emulate the song. They emulate the rhetoric. They emulate the look, the vibe, the emotions, the emotional appeals, all those things. While they slide their agenda in underneath, while they slide their agenda, their personnel, their people, whatever. And they're doing that to the Groypers right now. They've tried to do it over the years, but they're doing it once again very aggressively right now. And if we don't say something when we see something, something smells funny here, we need to say that. We need to call it out and be alert. Because if we don't, they will do the same thing to us that they did to Trump. Look at how Trumpism has changed. It went from MAGA, America First. We will no longer be misled by the siren song of globalism. She is controlled by international banks and global special interests. It went from that to like the radical left Democrats want socialism. They skin suited, they subverted. They want to do the same to Groypers. And they want to steer it away from talking about the politics of identity. That's why Tucker's giving the speech about blood guilt. Let's not talk about Jews. Let's talk a lot less about Israel. As a matter of fact, it's not even about Israel. It's about the neocons and the evangelicals. Look somewhere else. Look over here. Look over there. It's the evangelicals. It's Colin Powell. It's the neocons, the Vulcans. It's everything other than what it is. Always. Oh, the Great Replacement? That's about voting rights. It's not racial. It's not that the country was white and is now brown. No, it has nothing to do with that. This is about voting rights and a meritocracy, and it's about civics and citizens. Look everywhere else other than what's actually going on. Have to call it out. Have to call it out explicitly and directly and in detail and with precision. Because if it's not a fight, then it's going to be this meld. It's going to be an invasion of the body snatchers, infection, and they're going to take over this whole thing. And that's what they're trying to do. It could not be more obvious. Like, he should have waited a couple months. But he does the interview with me, and then a month later, he's clip farming on Piers Morgan. Did you know your grandpa can say retard and faggot too? Come on, bro. Hey, kids, turns out grandpa can say retard and faggot too. But never. But you can't say that ever. Oh, really? Why not, Gramps? Why the f not? That's the only one that actually matters, actually. Was never disallowed. It was barely disallowed. The N-word is the one that you still have to say the N-word, by the way. And he goes, oh, but never that. That's because you're fake. You are fake. You are simulating this. You are giving us a kid-friendly version. Here's your little kid scissors that don't actually cut anything. Here's your kid's meal. Here's your little side of mac and cheese, and we're supposed to eat that up and be happy. Oh, well, we got our offering from Fox News headquarters, from Peter Thiel headquarters, from Vance 28 HQ. They can say retard too. No, I don't think so. I'm calling bullshit on that. That's totally ridiculous. You can't play it that way. He goes, come on, say it. Oh, but you can, that's so ugly. You can never say that. What are we doing here, bro? You're 57. You're going to start using the retard word now? Really? A little late in the game for that, I think. Kind of sad, actually. Kind of sad to try to pander to the kids in that way. I say it. I've said it my entire career. I say it all the time. That's how I talk. And I'm being looked down upon for this. These are the kinds of things that tell you who these people are. And, you might say to yourself, well, of course Tucker can't say the N-word. It's like, okay, well, then he shouldn't be going around saying the other stuff either. You're either making a point about free speech or you're not. And if you're not, then what are you really doing? I don't like it. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird, and it's not honest, and it's not what it says it is. And I don't like it. So I saw that and deeply creeped out by the whole thing. Like my whole experience, you have to realize they're deeply uncomfortable with the fact that I've become super popular and mainstream. And do not underestimate how sophisticated they are, how convoluted their plans are to try to derail this. And again, I go back to what I was talking about last week. Last week, we talked about the backlash to the interview. It's coming from the World Jewish Congress, Republican Jewish Coalition, North American Jewish Federation, Conference of Major American Jewish Organizations, the Tikva Fund Jewish Leadership Summit. What's the common denominator there? At the same time, we have the other guy going around and telling people this speech about blood guilt, which is supposed to imply that we're never supposed to talk about the Jews. It's only about neocons. Something deeply strange and convoluted is going on here. Don't underestimate that. The devil actually resides in the details. Like, he literally lives there. Okay, so don't think that that's like me nitpicking. That's not nitpicking. It's subtle, but that is a very solid demarcation there. Anyway, so that's that. I saw that clip, and like I said, at first I thought it was kind of funny, and then I'm like, wait a second, he's clip farming. Wait a second, why is he clip farming? He's trying to be me. He's trying to steal my flow. You don't say this stuff for 25 years. Now you're trying to do a kid-safe version of it because all you want to do is pander to the masses. You don't actually want to empower the masses. Pander to the trivial things that they like, jingle the keys in front of their face like babies, and they go, oh, he said a funny word. What I'm giving them is empowerment. I'm telling them we don't need to listen to Jews in our country anymore. That's what I'm empowering them. I am telling Americans the story of our people. where we came from, who we are, our God, our civilization, our ancestors, our heroes. I'm telling the story of our civilization, who we once were, who we are, what we must become to get back our country. That's what I'm giving them. It's not just slurs. You might think it's just about saying a naughty word to get a chuckle from the teenagers. I'm giving them political consciousness, racial consciousness, spiritual consciousness for political empowerment. That's the difference. That is what they will never give you. They might say retard, they might clip farm, they might give you someone that looks the same, sounds the same, but it's not the same. Because they want to keep you enslaved to the system, because they all want you to go to the polls and vote for JD Vance in 2028. This guy with the Jeet wife. Go ahead. On my next interview with Tucker, maybe I'll press him like he pressed Piers Morgan. Tucker pressed Piers, say faggot. I'll say, hey, Tucker, say nigger. Call JD Vance's wife a Jeet. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's about free speech, isn't it? Go ahead. It's edgy. We love black people. We love Indians. Go ahead. Say nigger. Say Jeet. Try it. See how it feels. Do it just once. Say it out loud just to see how it feels. That'll be the next interview. We'll see if we get that. But anyway, so that's the clip. I couldn't believe it when I saw that and digested it. I was like, son of a bitch. But that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to get into our featured story. We might not have time for Venezuela. That's okay, because this is going on all week. We're going to get into the post from Trump on Twitter. Very similar. This is like almost exactly the same thing. And once you see it, maybe you'll really start to understand where I come down when it comes to politics. For example, during an election, and why I do it. For many years, people never understood why I don't vote or threaten to vote for Democrats, although I never have, or why I'm constantly antagonizing my own side. These are examples why. Our featured story is all about this post from the president on Thanksgiving, and I guess I'll just read it to you. This is in response to the shooting of the 2 National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., which took place last week. One of them is now dead. The other is in critical condition, but seems to be recovering a little bit. And it seemed that Trump was very angry about this. You could see it on his face when he gave a statement about it the following morning. This is what he posted about it on Truth Social and Twitter. He said, quote, and this was on Thanksgiving, our president said, "A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration." That was the first sentence. That's kind of an awesome sentence. But he goes on. There's a lot of ideas in there. He writes, the official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, census, citing the census for that number, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. The real migrant population is much higher. This refugee burden is the leading cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crime, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits. As an example, hundreds of thousands from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey, as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both. Well, the worst congressman/woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into the United States illegally, in that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she is treated when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for lack of government, military, police, schools, etc. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. That was another run-on sentence. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can cure the situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You won't be here for long. So those are the Thanksgiving greetings from our president, Donald Trump. Honestly, it's a great post. This is like a legendary, all-time, greatest of all time, Hall of Fame post. Masterfully written, contains most of the essential ideas. It's perfect. It's a great statement from start to finish. Then he really got into the wholeness of the problem, which is that the country's being invaded illegally. We have a massive foreign-born population. It's bigger than ever. It's creating social dysfunction that didn't exist before the mass migration. It is a burden on the country fiscally and economically. The people that are here are ungrateful and sort of sick and twisted. They hate the country, but all they do is complain. And there is this complacency because Americans don't want to complain about it. The immigrants come here from broken countries. They cause the problems. They do so illegally. They are a drain. And the American people, they don't want to complain about the arrangement because they don't want to get punished or they don't want to rock the boat. And Trump's prescription is perfect too. He says we need to basically revoke their legal standing to be here. The asylum seekers, the illegal border crossers, wall jumpers, everybody basically that does not have citizenship, he says, needs to be removed from the country, and will terminate visas, asylum claims, deferred action on deportation, whether that's TPS or DACA. He says, we're going to terminate all that. We're going to remigrate the people. They came here in massive numbers against the law. We're going to reverse that flow in massive numbers, consistent with the law. They came here by the millions. They will leave by the millions. They came here and caused the problems. By getting them out, we will solve the problems. That's the idea. And it's perfect. And you read this and you get excited. It's actually a funny post. He goes on this tear. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving. It's a funny, hilarious, incisive, witty, direct. It's a great post. Here's the problem, though. I read through this and I said, this is awesome. Like I said, everything I've just told you, this is my reaction. It's great. But what actually is ever going to come of this? What are we actually doing about this problem? We have been at this for 10 years. Trump came down the escalator in June 2015. It is December 2025. It has been 10.5 years. We have had 5 years of a Trump presidency. 4 years in the first term, nearly 1 year in the second term. What have we done about this? If anything, it's gotten worse. It got worse in Trump's first term. We had record-breaking illegal border crossings in 2019, hit the cap for H-1B visas every year, So in terms of legal and illegal immigration, we didn't see a major reduction. We actually saw increases. There were no mass deportations, no wall, didn't change immigration law. And that's why all the executive orders that Trump created were instantly reversed when Biden was elected and brought in 10 million more illegals and brought in a ton of legal immigrants to boot and let things get worse than ever before. Now here we are for the second term. In what way, shape, or form has any of this gotten better? We closed the border. That should be a given. But the mass deportations are not materializing. We're deporting about 1,000 people per day. How many we're bringing in on H-1B visas? How many people are being naturalized? It looks like there are proposals to double the number of H-1B visas. There have been more naturalizations this year than last year. More naturalizations under Trump, not even in a full year, than under a full year of Joe Biden and his terminal year in his term. So what are we actually doing here? What are we doing about the problem? People look at these types of statements as though Trump is saying them as the candidate running against an incumbent, but he's not. He is saying these things as the sitting president who has been here for a year, who has been in power off and on for 5 years, who's been around for more than 10 years. And when you read a statement like this, and it's not the first of its kind, and you've been reading statements like this for 10 years, you begin to wonder, when is this actually going to happen? Where is the follow-through? When will there be a delivery here? A tangible win on any of this? And then you realize that this is the strategy. This is actually their intentional playbook. They're deeply conscientious of this. And this is how it goes. What is happening right now, obviously, is that Trump is more unpopular maybe than ever. Certainly he's more unpopular than at any other time in this second term. His favorability is in the toilet. His approval is in the toilet. Specifically, his approval on immigration and the economy is very bad. For the first time in years, voters actually favor Democrats on the economy over Republicans. People blame Trump for the state of the economy more than they blame Biden. Any way that you cut it, Trump is in real trouble with these numbers. Numbers polling his own base, polling Republicans, independents. Any way you cut it, it is catastrophically bad. And he has only himself to blame. We're cutting Medicaid to pay for corporate tax cuts. Doge was a total failure. We're bombing Iran. Prices have not gone down, and the economy has not recovered. The tariffs have been a complete disaster. There are mounting signs all over the economy. We're in a real estate bubble. Consumer spending is slowing. The job market is frozen. They're not even releasing the jobs report in October. On top of all that, they didn't even release the Epstein files. So it is a total disaster. That is why he's unpopular, and it's self-inflicted. It is because rather than keep his promises, all that this administration has done is enrich the people that are in it. There is rampant, basically criminal levels of corruption in this government. The very people that Trump brought in to drain the swamp, they're looting D.C. They're taking everything that isn't nailed down practically. They're stealing. They are corrupt. That is all these people. You know, why do you think they brought these people in? Someone like Howard Lutnick and David Sachs, and, you know, these people, they are criminals. So this is, and it's important to understand this, contrary to what the true believers, the plan trusters say, this is not actually the result of a political system that is so difficult to overcome that, you know, they can't do it in a matter of 5 years. No, they're not even trying. It is actually for a lack of trying that it is this way. They're not trying. It's a joke. Kristi Noem is a joke. Kash Patel is a joke. Pete Hegseth is a joke. People allegedly are in there blackmailing him. It's like every person in this cabinet is a complete disaster. And the reason it's like this is because it's all patronage. Trump got in office to stay out of jail. He had to cut deals to get money. And now that he's in, he had to reward the donors by allowing them to pick the cabinet members. reward other people in the party with these patronage posts, and now this is what we're getting. So this is an utter and complete catastrophe. There's no deportations. We hit the H-1B cap. We're in a war with Iran. We're going to go back very soon. It's just like one cataclysm after the next. Here's the playbook. It is in this context where Trump posts something like this. Poll numbers down, favorability down the tubes, economy sucks, all these wars are breaking out all over again. Everybody's deeply unhappy. What do? Let it rip with the racism, let it rip with the retard, let it rip with nativism. I know what'll get those stupid idiots back on my side. I'm gonna do a racist rant. I'm going to go on Twitter and True Social, and I'm going to let it rip. And I'm going to be obnoxious and belligerent and politically incorrect and brash and controversial. And I'm going to say something so shocking, so edgy, so ridiculous that everyone is going to be talking about this and not that. Everyone's going to be talking about how I called Tim Walz a retard. Everyone's going to be talking about how I said this about Ilhan Omar. I'm going to pack 15 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag of controversy and rage bait and clip farming so that nobody's going to pay attention to the fact that we didn't even release the October jobs report because it was so bad. No one's paying attention to a war in Venezuela that nobody wants. No one's paying attention to Black Friday consumer trends being a disaster, the job market failing. No one pay any attention to the complete and utter disaster. Republicans might lose their majority in the House before the midterms because so many people are jumping ship. But don't look at that. Look at my racist rant. Look at my stupid little rant on True Social that I'm not actually going to do shit about. I'm not going to follow through on any of it. That's the best part. It's not, I'm going to satisfy my base responding to their needs and demands. No, I am going to pander to my base as though I give a shit about what they want to distract them from how I'm betraying them in every other way, including the ways in which I'm pandering to them about. That's what this is. That's what this always is. I'll give you examples. In the 2018 midterms, after Trump was elected in 2016, it was clear that we were headed for a blue wave. There were already very bad signs. We lost the Senate special election in Alabama. We lost another special election in suburban Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. There were a lot of warning signs that 2018 was going to be a bloodbath. And by 2018, they did the same thing, which is instead of giving money for a border wall and fixing immigration, they did a corporate tax cut. They did the same thing. They squandered their budget measure on trying to repeal Obamacare and failing. And then they squandered the second one on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is the corporate tax cut. There was no border wall. There was no immigration reform. And so what did Trump do to get Republicans to turn out in the 2018 midterms? He deployed the National Guard to the border. And he went to rallies and said, we're going to call ourselves nationalists again. We're going to use that word again. The midterms came and went. Republicans got destroyed. And what happened? Trump pulled the National Guard back from the border almost immediately. And we never heard him say the word nationalist ever again. They do this every time. Trump knows his base. He knows his people. He knows what they want. He knows what they want to hear. And he always has. And what does it tell you that he can flip a switch like this? For the past year and a half, you know, we heard about immigration. We heard we need the people. Americans have no talent. We need Indians. We're going to staple green cards to diplomas. We need the farm workers. We need the hospitality workers. The radical right won't like this, but they'll understand. We're not going to deport people at Home Depot or meatpacking plants. He's been saying that for a year and a half. What does it tell you? Now that his poll numbers are in the tubes, he could write something like this. Like he flipped a switch. Last week, he goes in an interview and says, Americans have no talent. You think we could pull somebody out of an unemployment line and have them build a Hyundai? You can't. Who's going to build our missiles for us? Americans don't have the talent. We need the immigrants. And then 1 week later, he lets something like that rip where he goes, immigrants are coming here. We have the biggest foreign-born population. They're wrecking society, and no one wants to say anything because they feel guilty. We got to get them out. What does it tell you if he could flip a switch? It means that he knows. He knows. He knows what you want. He knows what you're asking for. He knows what you expect him to deliver. But he refuses to give it to you. Why? Because he knows he doesn't need to. He only brings that out in an emergency. If he can get you to vote without doing those things, he won't do it. If he doesn't think he needs to pander to you, he won't. He will pander to the billionaires because he needs their money. But when he's losing support catastrophically, he knows just which buttons to press, just which levers to pull, just the right words to say. I mean, if you read that post like I just did, you must be thinking, this is amazing. This is awesome. Where's this guy? That guy doesn't exist. It's an act. It's an appeal. People say, are we going to get the 2016 Trump back? Oh, I think this is 2016 Trump. 2016 Trump is a marketing strategy. It's like the fucking green M&M. Okay? It is like the Geico Gecko. It is a marketing gimmick. It is like when McDonald's plays Monopoly. It's a marketing gimmick to get you through the door to buy the product. And people go, where was this Trump? That Trump never existed. That is a face that Trump puts on when he desperately needs people to stick with him. And as soon as he gets you back, he takes it off and goes back to taking care of business. That's what happens. And what is that? What else does that tell us? I see people on Twitter and I see people on YouTube and they say, we need to get on Twitter and we need to tell the president that we don't support this, that, or the other thing. And it presumes that he doesn't know. Whenever I go on Alex Jones, he tells me, we need to tell the president we don't want a war with Iran. Tell the president? What are you talking about? We're talk show hosts. What do you mean we need to tell the president? Doesn't he have millions of dollars in contracts to the best consultants and pollsters? They know what the people want. They know what the people want and what they're asking for and what they expect. They know exactly what they want. And this is the proof. Because when push comes to shove, they know how to give the people what they want. They just choose not to every other time. It's not for lack of being reminded. It's not because Lomez and John Doyle didn't run it up the flagpole on Twitter. It's not because Mike Cernovich tweeted, hey, Trump, I really think this war with Iran is a bad idea. No, they know exactly what the people want. They just don't give it to them unless it is absolutely necessary. Then they will signal that they're prepared to give them what they want. And then they never do. That's what this is. And once you understand that, you understand the game that we've been playing for the past 10 years. It's no different than when at the convention last year, they held up signs saying mass deportations. You see any mass deportations? They're not happening. I saw somebody say, I think it was Daryl Cooper, who I like, but he said, you can't judge Trump unless you give him at least 12 to 24 months first. 12 to 24 months? We got to wait until 2027 before we can judge what he did in 25? The next primary for the next election is going to have started already. We can't judge until 2 years in. What are you talking about? This is the game that they play, which is that every election, on an off year, on a major election year, or whenever their poll numbers tank, they will tell you what you want to hear. And they know how to do it. They're very good at it. They're not ignorant. They know exactly what to say. And they get you to buy in. That's the critical word that people don't seem to understand. They want you to buy in. They want you to believe. They want you to have faith. They want you to stand there patiently waiting for your reform with your hands on your hips saying, all right, come on now, Trump. Where's the 2016 Trump? They want you doing apologia for the administration, making excuses, negotiating with yourself. Oh, well, they're waiting for the money to hit from the big, beautiful bill. Well, they just need more time. They need to spin up ICE. It's going to take more time. They want you to do this so that they can screw you more. And then the next time you're mad, they're going to feed you another line like this. And they have done this for 10 years. They will do it for the next 10 years. And they'll do it for 10 years after that, because that is what they do. That is what politicians do. The only reason that Trump was ever attractive is because his appeal is that he was not a politician. Starting to get it? What was attractive about Trump in 2015 is he said, it doesn't work like that with me. I'm not a politician. What you see is what you're going to get. What I'm saying is what I will deliver. I'll deliver real, tangible victories, not political PR victories. And I could do that because I'm not corrupt. But that was a line. And we learned that very quickly in the first term, that he was not who he said he was. When he hired Steve Mnuchin and John Bolton and the Swamp Creatures, we knew then that he lied. He was a politician. Saying I'm not a politician was just the latest innovation of the supreme politician, Donald Trump. And he got in, and we learned that the hard way. And so when we came out the second time, or the third time in 2024, there should have been an expectation like, you need to demonstrate that it will be different. But people just rushed back in. And they said, oh no, I assume it will be different. The rhetoric wasn't like this in the campaign. The rhetoric was terrible. The rallies were terrible. The pledges, the campaign platform was terrible, but people said, we'll sort that out later. Well, now here we are. It's terrible. And what does Trump do? He's going to keep pressing that button, the only one he knows how to press, which is he gets in hot water, gets in trouble. He's going to roll out. He's going to dust off and then roll out the same old playbook. I'm in trouble. Let's do more racism. And you people need to understand this, you white people. I know you white people are angry. I'm angry too. I know you poor people are angry. We're all angry. The country is going away. There's no deficit of anger. But demonstrating anger does nothing. What does something is actually getting involved in the political system and making change. And it is so easy for people that are angry and sentimental and caught up in their emotions to get wrapped up in statements like this. They're waiting for somebody to affirm or acknowledge their grievances. This is grievance politics. This is white grievance politics. And it is being weaponized against white people, just as black racial politics was weaponized against the black people. We called them race hustlers. Donald Trump is like the first white race hustler because he is hustling us as a group. He is hustling white people. He is feigning concern for our ethnic interests without delivering. He barely sees himself as white. They call him a Jew. Mark Levin says you're the first Jewish president. You got Jewish grandkids. Trump is constantly signaling to his predominantly white base with a implicitly white cultural politics and is always stabbing the white people in the back by making appeals to them obliquely in this way. He's the first white race hustler. And it's not to say that we don't need a white identity politics, but it is to say that we need an authentic white identity politics. It isn't a scam. It isn't pandering to our basest instincts where we say, oh yeah, f*** immigrants. I mean, on some level, yes, but let's see the policy. And this is what the Republican Party has become now. It's actually very sad. It is a handshake between the worst elements of the elites and the worst elements of the masses. The most hateful tendencies of the masses and the most cynical tendencies of the elites. Because the elites do not have this kind of hatred. They don't have this kind of antipathy for foreigners and outsiders that a lot of people among the lower classes do. And the lower classes have maybe an authenticity, a plain-spokenness that the elites don't have. But they're sort of getting together and they're embracing the worst of both worlds. We're in a race to the bottom where people like Tucker and Trump that are really not on our side. They're not against Israel. They're not pro-white. They're barely Christian. These people are getting together and appealing to superstition, talking about demons and chemtrails, appealing to racism, talking about Ilhan Omar and the Somalis and all that kind of stuff. And there's a race to be the most crass, the most controversial, the most uncivil, the most cruel, without actually delivering change and actually delivering more corruption than ever. So you're getting maximum cruelty. You're not even getting like the good faith, reasonable opposition to these things that comes from a patriotic place. You're getting the worst kind of shock politics where we're just like these retards and blah, blah, and retards and, you know, you're getting that. You're getting crass, casual cruelty, meanness. You're getting people like Stephen Miller that are just saying like white boomers and third worlders, you're nothing. We're going to round you up. And so you're getting maximum cruelty and mean-spiritedness and legitimate, probably just like gross appeals to racism to pander to the masses, while also getting maximum corruption, not delivering real immigration reform, which would benefit everybody, not actually delivering real populist change in the government, but actually entrenching the richest, most powerful interest groups, AI, defense tech, Palantir, Elon Musk, like all these people, the Israel lobby. We're going into Gaza and building a smart city on a mass grave of children murdered by Israel. Like, so you're getting the worst of all of it in the Republican Party. This is the sickness. It's guys like Tucker and Vance and Stephen Miller mean mugging for the camera, saying your third world's gotta go, we hate you, and then turning around and supporting Vance and the Jeet wife, entrenching the interests, and there's no mass deportations at all. What are we actually doing with any of this? It's disgusting. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. I want the opposite. I don't want the mean-spiritedness. I don't want the controversy for controversy's sake. And people say that's rich coming from you. I don't try to be provocative. I just am. And I don't do it for its own sake. I do it for a reason. It's because I'm telling the truth, and the truth is provocative. But I want the opposite. I want the actual change. I want actual immigration moratorium, mass deportations. I want actual suspension of foreign lobbying from Israel and Qatar and from Russia and China. You know, I want all that shut down. I actually want to suspend the asylum requests. I want to build the wall and keep the illegals out. I want to have an America First immigration program. I want all of it without the cruelty, without the mean-spiritedness, without the hatred, without having to feel like we need to appeal to those kinds of things to win people over to our side, without feeding the anger, feeding the grievance. That's what I want. And we're getting the inverse of that. And I think it's deeply wrong. And I want nothing to do with it. So I see the statement from the president and it's like, dude, shut up. You're the president. Deliver it. He goes on True Social on Thanksgiving with this rant about we have the largest foreign-born population. They cost all this money. Okay, you've only been the president now for 5 years. Do something about it then. Don't talk anymore. And Trump has really inverted everything. His whole campaign the first time was politicians are all talk, no action. You've been in government for 40 years. You have experience, but it's bad experience. Okay, how long have you been in politics now? And what have you done? Don't bitch about it on Thanksgiving. Just do it. And I have no reason to believe he will. He went from 1 week ago saying, Americans have no skills. We need the people. The deportation numbers are abysmal. We deported 300,000 people in a year. It's nothing. To now this screed. Oh, what, did you just wake up and realize your own voters wanted the deportations? The deportations you promised? Get real. Just do it then. So no, I am not putting the MAGA hat back on. I am not falling for it again. We must continue to be basically hostile in our opposition to this administration until it delivers. Not until it tweets about what we want, until it delivers what we want. We can't keep being the stupid people anymore that give and get nothing in return, that give and there's no reciprocity. More support, more votes, another election, more donations. And the real victories are always just out of reach, just outside our grasp. We were going to do it, but would you settle for a post on Truth Social? Would you settle for a meta-political victory? I saw some asshole saying that it's a meta-political victory that Trump said reverse migration. Look, I don't know what that is. I want victory, period. Not a meta-political victory, not an abstract victory, not a theoretical victory. I want victory. There's no substitute. I want to win. I want the country to be the way that I want it to be. I don't want another post. I don't want more promises. I don't want another 20-point plan. I want to see fewer immigrants in America today. You're the president. You have a mandate. You have both chambers of Congress. Literally, what is the excuse at this point? And if the excuse is, what about the courts? Forget the courts. Wasn't that the whole LARP? When are we actually going to get it? You know, you could just do things. What if Trump was like Roosevelt? I don't know. What if? Let's see it. I saw Curtis Yarvin tweet about this statement. He said, oh, the lion is unchained or some other stupid thing. It's like, really? Because he made another post on Truth Social? How old are you again? I mean, we've seen this movie before. But the theme tonight, it's consistent with both of them. We're getting crap. We're getting slop. You're getting people going out, clip farming and saying, third world. And then they turn around and give you dog shit. They give you slop so they can feed you shit. And that's your GOP. It's a disgusting scam. So anyway, and I saw Cenk Uygur did a statement about this on Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving, and I actually thought he was totally right. He said, you know, even Nick Fuentes is saying we need less cruelty. He said, and that's because populism is winning. I think he's totally right about that, by the way. I think he's absolutely correct. It turns out that Generation Z doesn't really hate anybody. What we want is populism. What we want is order. Now, contrary to the nephew, who says all identity politics is a distraction from class consciousness. No, actually, identity plays a big role in that also. But people don't want the rhetoric. They don't want the shock. People just want the America First policies. We want a country. It's that simple. So anyway, that's that. We're going to move on. We'll save the story about Venezuela probably for tomorrow or maybe later in the week. But we're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this.
Don't complain about it on Thanksgiving. Do something about it. That's the energy that Nick had with Trump. And I share those very same sentiments. Like, Trump, you are a politician. You are a politician. We gave you the opportunity to not be one, but you continue to show us how much of one that you are. We'll get into a little bit more of that as we go through the notes. I just don't want to go out of order because I'm always missing something when I do that. But I don't know about that. But Tucker Carlson, let's start off with Tucker Carlson, then we'll get into the Trump combo. So Tucker interviewing Piers Morgan. And we discussed the Tucker interview with Piers Morgan. And we discussed before, you know, Nick's relationship with Tucker after the interview. It seemed like, from my perspective, that Tucker was doing certain things now that he was receiving the backlash from interviewing Nick to try to distance himself from Nick and to kind of throw him under the bus with a lot of things. So I remember watching Tucker podcast or Tucker show and him saying certain things. And I'm like, Nick ain't gonna like that. Like, bro, y'all supposed to be peaceful, you know, working together, seem to align on a lot of different things. But it seems like Tucker fell victim to
everybody trying to bash him for interviewing Nick. And perhaps he didn't fall victim to it. Perhaps it was what Nick suggested, as far as Tucker never planned on extending, an olive branch to Nick, that it was more so about how he can benefit from it, how he can probably not look stupid, like he's caving to the pressure that a lot of people have put him under, because he will talk about Nick Fuentes but never interview him. He talks about certain aspects of free speech, and a lot of the things that he aligns with are not consistent with him not being willing to interview Nick Fuentes. So Nick says that Tucker discovered clip farming, and that's why he used the F word. We'll leave it at that. I don't care to use it. Don't feel like I need to use it. When I saw Tucker using it, it was more so like, I was sitting there wondering, like, why is he doing this? And the first thing that you do think of, and Nick probably just didn't think of it because it's him, but the first thing that came to mind is like, yo, this is like, he's clearly being influenced in some type of way by Nick. And Nick doesn't seem to like it, perhaps or Nick said that he thought it was funny at first, but then he seemed to think about it as clip farming and being very opportunistic when it comes to certain things. So I'm sorry, I got a little bit distracted in the background. But yeah, this is him trying to pander in different ways. This is Tucker trying to pander in different ways to an audience, trying to be like Nick. He understands that Nick has some type of juice that attracts a lot of people to him. He understands that. He understands that Nick is growing, even though people are constantly trying to cancel him. And he's sitting back wondering, well, how can I get more of the Nick Fuentes views without obviously bringing Nick Fuentes back on the show, or without talking about Nick in some ways, because he is going to cause himself harm, in my opinion, if he talks too badly about Nick. But he'll throw certain things out there like, oh, he's an anti-Semite, he's this, he's that. They're just little pop shots. And I'm sure Nick felt like that as soon as he saw it, even though he probably didn't address it because he wanted to keep peace. But at this point, Tucker's showing you exactly who he is. And I'm glad that Nick is standing up for himself, because Tucker, in my opinion, is being disingenuous. He's being a coward, and he's not Nick. So I don't think Nick needs to adjust his behavior in order to get along with Tucker, especially if Tucker is not willing to do the same. And this has been shown time after time, as far as the clips that I've seen or shows that I've seen, when Tucker does talk about Nick, discuss the interview that he did with Nick. So that's what I see as far as the clip farming. And it does look a bit embarrassing when you have somebody like Tucker just constantly repeating the F word for no reason. It's just like, what is this for? And it's the same thing that I feel when I see a whole bunch of other people trying to mimic Nick in saying the N word and all this. It's like Nick's saying it, and I may not like it. I don't like it. Don't think it's necessary. But when other people are just saying things and it's not their original thought process, but they just got the green light and gassed off of somebody else saying something, something doesn't sit right with me. It's like, if you're going to say something, say something. You shouldn't have to get the courage from somebody else doing something in order for you to feel justified doing it. Perhaps that means that you weren't supposed to be doing it in the first place, if you need somebody else to do it for you to feel safe doing it. So I don't necessarily like it. I don't want to make this whole conversation about the N word. And this is the problem with it. It just distracts. It just distracts. Like, you don't need to stand on business and show that you're based or show whatever else in order, we know that you're going to say the N word. It is what it is. You don't need to necessarily normalize that, in my opinion. If Nick feels like that's part of his purpose, that's part of the battle that he's fighting, then so be it. In my opinion, it just distracts us on one hand, and it discourages a lot of loyal people that would be rocking with you. A whole lot of loyal people that would be rocking with you. I went down Thanksgiving and down in Maryland, was talking to some family and friends, and a lot of the people that actually rock with Nick, he may be surprised to know that they rock with Nick. And I think a lot of their significant others would be rocking with Nick, because a lot of these were the guys. But I think a lot of their significant others would be rocking with Nick as well, if he just if he just, I don't want to say tone down the rhetoric, but just, you don't need to use it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily need to use it the way that, now maybe he feels like he does. Maybe, I'm sure he feels like he has more of a loyalty to his base, whatever that means, compared to anybody else that joins. But in my opinion, you know, your base is your base. They're going to rock with you. Perhaps this is more like the Trump type of thinking that we'll discuss a little bit later. I'm not saying that you don't need to appeal to your base, but is that really a part of your mission, or is that just more of the clip farming that you're accusing Tucker of doing that you're continuing to do? You may have been genuine when it came to you saying the N-word and clip farming, but it still serves the same purpose. You know that when you say the N-word, a lot of your followers are going to get excited about it. Those are going to be the shows that they tune into the most. A lot of your followers are simple, just like a lot of other followers are simple, and they just want to tune in because of the emotions that you bring out of them, not because of the policies and the things that you're standing on. And to me, when you bring certain people on board that are actually standing on principles, policies, values, and integrity and rocking with you because of those things, those are the people that you need to appeal, or I don't want to say what you need to do, but those are the people that I think would be very valuable to have in your corner. And whenever they're trying to call you a racist, an anti-Semite, and only using the N-word to describe why you're racist, or whatever word he may have used to describe, you know, JD Vance's wife, it won't hold much weight because you'll have those people actually right beside you rocking with you. So to each their own. I'll leave that part there. But I think that it was strategic what Tucker did as far as bringing Nalin Haley on, him interviewing Nalin Haley. It seems like more and more of a play as time goes on, and we see how Tucker's behaving, and we see how he's trying to disavow and say certain things against Nick to dissociate himself with Nick. It just seems like that's the play. Nalin Haley, is this a Peter Thiel? What Peter Thiel did to JD Vance? Is this the safer alternative? And more importantly than safe, because it doesn't necessarily have to be safe, but it's something that they can control. So is this the alternative to Nick Fuentes that they would be able to control and use in their favor as their pawn? That's what it seems like is happening. Nick doesn't believe that Tucker's real. Nick doesn't know what he is, an alien, a serpent, LOL, who knows? I wrote the LOL. Sometimes when you read LOL on the paper, it sounds a little funny. But he just knows that he's not who he says he is. I believe that Tucker is not who he says he is. And I believe that's why Tucker is only willing to go to a certain point to where he'll reach the line, but then fall back. And maybe this is similar to what we're going to discuss when it comes to Trump, where Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to appeal to his base when he feels that he needs to appeal to his base, and when he cannot appeal to his base and appeal to the donors. The same way that Tucker may know certain things that he can do. Hold on, did I lose my train of thought? The same way that Tucker may use this type of strategy where he picks and chooses. So he knows that it's an issue that perhaps it's with Jewish culture, but he only feels comfortable saying like, oh, it's an Israel issue. I'm not talking about Jewish people. Bro, Jewish people don't talk about Israel without talking about Jewish people. So now when it comes to saying the word Jewish, people are talking about certain things that are prevalent and at the forefront of their culture. Tucker wants to make, oh no, this is about Israel. This is a government. Bro, stop it. It's the culture of Jewish people. It's the culture of Jewish Americans specifically. And outside of just culture, it's the influence that Jewish Americans are having on our politicians, giving them money, directing them in certain ways, obviously having a huge influence in controlling our government, I would say. And it is when it comes to Donald Trump, in my opinion, it's that, yeah, he did run for president. And Nick reminded me of this. One of the reasons that a lot of people brought up at the time that he was running is because he wanted to avoid being locked up, getting in trouble. It sounds very Bibi Netanyahu-ish. So maybe this is the reason why Trump's now calling for Bibi, for the president of Israel, to pardon Bibi Netanyahu. So all of this stuff it's just a play. It's all just a play. Trump was always a politician. Trump understands deals, right? The art of the deal. So he had to make certain deals in order to not get locked up, in order to raise certain funds so he could become president and hopefully avoid being locked up. And now he just has to cash in on all those checks that he wrote. Now you have to, all that money that you said that you would give out, or all those things that you said that you would give out in return in exchange for the money, now you actually have to follow through with those things. And you're putting the people that just rock with you on the back burner and prioritizing the people that put money in your pockets that you did a deal with. As far as the position that I'm seeing, from the perspective and vantage point that I'm seeing it, that's what I'm looking at. Let's keep going. So Trump gave this Thanksgiving greeting. I wanted to highlight it. I don't even think I need to, but it's just more of the same with Trump. I'm not gonna pull it up on the screen or anything, but it's more of the same with Trump. This is Trump, the politician. Trump's gonna do whatever he needs to do, say whatever he needs to say in order to appeal to his base, in order to appeal to his voters. He knows when he's losing his people. He knows when he needs to make certain adjustments to appeal to his people, and he does so. And this is what he does. It's all just a play. It's all a strategy. It's all Trump doing whatever Trump needs to do in order to push his personal interest at the very expense of the people that put him in office. That's what we're seeing, if we're being honest. And I'm not one of these types that, like, I think Nick mentioned, Darryl Cooper said that we have to give Trump 12 to 24 months. You only get 4 years. So now we're going to give you 12 to 24 months. So potentially 2 years to decide if you're even moving in the right direction. So now if you're moving in the wrong direction and it's hard enough to get something accomplished in 4 years, we just let somebody move in the totally wrong direction for 2 years and then try to think we can correct them and accomplish the things that we already wanted to accomplish and the things that we were banking on him accomplishing. So it's now you walk this way you walk or run this way for 2 years, the wrong direction. Now you have to just spend those 2 years getting back to the actual even point to where you first started before you can even consider going in the right direction, right? Now, how are you going to have the time to do so? So I just don't believe in the whole waiting for this long, that long. That was the case with Biden. And thank God there's a whole lot of people that are willing to call Donald Trump out in the first year and did not wait to see, oh, well, let's give him the benefit of doubt. People who give people the benefit of doubt always get taken advantage of. This reminds me of when Kaepernick was kneeling. Now, take your thoughts aside when it comes to whether you agree with Kaepernick kneeling or not. But you got to say that it was a bit phony and slimy, serpentish when Jay-Z, who was initially telling people to boycott the Super Bowl, don't watch the Super Bowl, on Saturday Night Live with a blacked out Colin Kaepernick jersey, who then secretly signs a deal with the NFL and does a podcast or a video without even talking to Colin Kaepernick and talking about sitting down with Roger Goodell, who just gave him a position to now run the music at the Super Bowl. Now he's saying, yeah, we're beyond kneeling. Didn't talk about any issues, nothing. Just said we're beyond kneeling, took a deal. And what did a lot of black people do? They gave Jay-Z the benefit of the doubt. People who keep giving people the benefit of doubt continuously are taken advantage of by people who are a lot smarter than them, who are a lot more political than them, or are a lot more willing to finesse and outslime somebody. That's what we're seeing. They're willing to go to lengths that you're not willing to go to. So that's how people are taken advantage of, just from my perspective. All right, so let's move on. It says, I didn't know that Trump didn't release the jobs report in October because it's so bad. Nick mentioned that the Republicans may lose the majority before even the midterms. It's like, here you had it on a silver platter. Donald Trump was handed it, and the reason, I don't want to make it seem like he was handed to it on a silver platter, but you won. You went through all these trials and tribulations. You got shot. They tried to lock you up, then you won. And you got into office during a time where people were not rocking with the Democrats. They had their lowest approval rating. And now look, you didn't even take advantage of it. Or perhaps you did take advantage of it and to use it to do certain things that you wanted to do personally, rather than actually to prioritize the people that voted for you and really the people that didn't vote for you by simply prioritizing Americans. Trump sold out. And people may not want to admit it, but it's right in front of our face. He sold out. What he's doing in a lot of ways, I'm almost getting, what is it called? PTSD. I'm being triggered because what I see Donald Trump doing to his MAGA base is exactly what made me leave the Democratic Party. I was going to say lose the Democratic Party. They lost me. I ain't lose them, but this is exactly how the Democrats treat black people. Donald Trump took the Democratic playbook. He said, you know what? Those black people, they're going to vote for me regardless. So why do I need to constantly appeal to them if they're already on my side? Matter of fact, let me appeal to these people that I made promises for. And I leverage the MAGA people. You know, I use their leverage to get me in office. So therefore, I use that leverage to get certain deals that I could from all these other donors. This is the same thing that Democrats do when it comes to black people. Why am I going to do anything for you if you're just going to vote for me regardless? I'd rather spend that time, effort, and energy trying to appeal to people that don't give me their vote automatically, like y'all silly Negroes. This is exactly what Donald Trump's doing to the MAGA base. And the MAGA base, just like a lot of black people, they just going along with it. Like, oh no, defending Trump. Those are his most staunch support. Like, y'all still defending this? He's doing the opposite of the things that you said were important to you. Now, were those things just never important to you? Or were they just not as important to you as your fanaticism because you have an emotional appeal to Donald Trump and you just like him, so therefore you'll rationalize the things that he's doing no matter what he's doing. You'll just get behind the person rather than the principles. I don't do that. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Yeah, Trump turning into Gavin Newsom, man. But that's really all I got for you. What I'll finish up today is on we need less cruelty. This is something that Nick pointed out, and he's something that he said that Gen Z is definitely on board with. You know, they just want, that's why they're pushing this populism agenda, the America First. And ultimately what it comes down to is they're looking for what a lot of people are looking for, but they're just willing to go to lengths that a lot of our previous generations haven't been willing to go to. And what they want is a country that just works with them in mind, a country that prioritizes the country people, the countrymen and women in that country. Like, is that a lot? Is that very hard to ask to prioritize? If I live in America, just to prioritize Americans, if we can get somebody that's going to do that, you got my vote. Because that serves as the North Star. That serves as the guide rails for solving every other issue. What's best for American people? How can we put them first, no matter what decision that we're making? How can we prioritize America? So on that note, let me get out of here. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the response, the review. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, turn your notifications on if you haven't already. Let's make sure that we're beating the algorithm, or we're controlling our own algorithm rather than just being fed an algorithm. And of course, as I always ask, give y'all opinion. You know, give a comment if you can. Thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't matter. Explain. Let me know some areas that I may be missing. I tell you all the time that my bias create blind spots for me. I assume just like everybody else. They definitely do it for me, but I'm assuming that that's the case with everybody else. I didn't want to come across like, yeah, I assume that I have blind spots from time to time. No, I got blind spots that make me a bit less objective than I think that I'm being at times. So therefore, I rely on y'all to give me the context. Give me the context. Tell me where I'm missing. Tell me where I'm hitting. Tell me wherever it is. Just give me some guidance, and it's much appreciated. So on that note, I'll let y'all go, and I'll see y'all on the next video. Yeah.
It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a nigga on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there. Let's figure out a split that's honorable and fair. Tell me where you trying to take it. Bro, I'll meet you there. 1600 Penn, Wash, D.C. Swear I saw the vision riding through the DMV. I envision prayers, but I could do VP. Hillbilly, Elegy, fuck, I look like JD. Shout out my cheat code, Dave and Karen raised me. And my big bro, a nuclear family. And they don't like that. Strong fathers in the crib, BLM fought that. LBJ society created all that. Victimhood mentality, I can't embrace that. And everything they taught in school, assume it's all cap. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Ain't no introduction, just some fun facts. In case you were wondering, I am that. I know you heard me hit it 3 times for Dr. Umar. Shout out to Umar, man. We ain't kicking nobody when they down. And shout out to everybody that continues to show love, support, appreciating the message that I'm giving y'all, along with the bro Nick's message. We gonna keep pushing, man. And shout out to the haters too, cause y'all in the comments heavy too. y'all the ones that gave me the inspiration to create this song. They kept saying like, who's the random black guy in the corner? I am.